Hello, my name is Dondre Gornflow. Some of you guys may know me as DRIZZLE or Grizz. I think my screen just died, but it's fine. So today I'm going to be sharing my testimony, and I don't know how long it's going to be. It's kind of a long story because I'm going through my life, so you got to bear with me here. So I guess we will start at the very beginning. As some of you may not know, and some of you may know, I am adopted by two white parents, 7 special needs children. Yes, 7 of us. And one of them is actually sitting back here playing the game, my brother Nathaniel. We have a cool story that we'll get into as we progress through the story. But to start off, yes, I am adopted. So I have a different perspective when it comes to, if you don't know me, I'm a Christian. I try to represent Christ the best I can. Some days are better than most, and some days are not. We all are human, and we're not supposed to be perfect. We're just called to strive toward our Creator and being more like Him, who is Jesus. So that's what I try to do, and that's what I try to portray. And with my faith, I know I can get through anything. So I'm adopted 7 special needs children. I'm the 7th and last adoptee in 2006 of August. Our story starts with me. I was born in October 12th, 1997. October on a Sunday. Don't know the time really. I just know it was a Sunday. To a mother and father. My father's name I think was Wilbur, not Wilbur, something with a W. But my mother's name was Bernadine, and my last name at the time before it was changed to Gornflow was Davis, and my middle name was Machiavelli. Right now my full name today is Dondre Davis Gornflow. I kept my last name, but before it was Dondre Machiavelli Davis. My mom took me home, like they do, yada, yada, yada. I don't remember those early stages really. So we're going to fast forward to parts that I remember. So we grew up in an apartment, there was 3 other siblings that I know of. And I had 2 older brothers and a younger sister. And the 2 older brothers, like older brothers would do, would, torment me, make me, know that I'm the younger brother. They would often, tease me and, hang me by my feet, shake me for my change till like change or candy or whatever fell out of my pocket because they knew I always had like change or candy on me. I don't know why I did as like a 3-year-old at this time. This is like 3 years old, so 2000s, very early 2000s. We just got into 2000s. So yeah, they would do that and yada yada yada. My sister and I don't remember much to be honest, and I don't really know their names. I could find out, but we'll get into reasons why I haven't later on. But I don't really remember much about her. I just know she did exist. I had a bunch of photos of the people I'm talking about, my family members, my birth family, I like to refer to them as. Um but yes, they were, my family for the first couple years of my life because they were my blood family. Um so I remember early on, like the earliest memory I can remember was sitting on the steps eating a bowl of those little cup noodles, the cup noodles, the ramen noodles. I don't know if it was ramen or cup. They're the same thing to me. But eating one of those on the steps, I remember having fun, like, because we had like an apartment, but it was like a 2-floor apartment. So we had stairs inside our house to get to the second floor upstairs. So I remember sliding down on my stomach on theirs, on my butt, just going up and down the stairs, having fun on the stairs. Like the stairs was my playground at this point. Like I've always been very active. And I should have probably mentioned this earlier, but I do have a disability called cerebral palsy. Um, and my specific diagnosis is Curare malformation. I think that's what it's called, Curare malformation. is where the base of the spine and where my head and the base of my spine or the top of my spine connect, and it like helps me pivot my neck like this. That is a little too thin, so, or small. So like any sudden jerks, like I can't go on roller coasters at all. Basically any jerks and I could die, like my neck could snap. So we were diagnosed with that at a very young age, actually, birth. And then I also have cerebral palsy in my knees and, well, my legs, my gait and, hip and pelvis is not aligned, like normal. So I walk like with a little pimp walk, but it is what it is. This is how God created me, and that is how I'm going to live. I haven't let it stop me yet, so I won't let it stop me now. You feel me? But anyways, yes, I just thought I'd let y'all know that that's a little backstory on like birth. I should have said that when I was talking about me being born. That's kind of pretty significant, but as you can tell, I don't let the disability stop me. So it doesn't really come to my forefront in the sense of when I'm talking about myself, I don't say I'm disabled first, like usually if you see me, you can tell, like you can tell. So I don't make a big point, but on camera, you can't really tell. So I should explain it. Anyways, we're going back to the story. So yeah, going up and down the stairs, at a young age. And after that, I think the next memory, fast forward, I want to say like maybe a year, not even a year later, my dad, my biological dad, um, you know, he worked, provided for the house, did all that like a man should. Uh, and so one day he sits me down. He's like, I'm going to work like he usually does, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, when I come back, we'll do some front yard, play catch, whatever we're gonna do, walk to the store, Uh and I'm like, all right, excited, as a kid. So I did my usual thing, playing on the stairs, talking to mom and everybody, I guess. That's what I did. I don't remember much in this time. I only remember bits and pieces. And the bits and pieces I do remember aren't that exciting. So but yeah, he said, all right, I'm gonna go and go to work and be back later. I'm like, all right, Dad, have a good day. Uh, so he left. And I remember it was hours pass, did not come back. He did not come back. And at this point, I didn't think much of it. I was like 3, 4 years old at this point. And it's like, I didn't think much of it. I was like, he's just at work late. He's just not home yet. And then I remember it was the next day, my uncle came over and he was talking to my mom, he was talking to my siblings, and then he comes over to me, who I was sitting on the stairs, probably eating a couple of ramen noodles. And he sits me down. Well, I was already sitting, but he squats down at my eye level and he's like, hey, son, your father, I wanted to tell you, is not coming home. And when you tell a child this, it kind of blows over their head. They don't really understand the concept of death. So when you say, hey, your father's not coming home, they just think you mean like, oh, he's just going to come back home tomorrow or next week or sometime, he's going to return. And so that's what I probably thought at that time. And I think that's what I did think. And so I sat there just pondering the question. I'm like, okay, a little weird. But the next like couple days, it was kind of weird. Like, Dad's not here. And then I find out, well, that day, a day after, he tells me he's not coming. I asked why, and they say he was killed. in a drive-by shooting on his way home. I did not understand what this is as a kid. Like, as a kid, this went way over my head. Like, this just fell on deaf ears. Like, I did not know what death was. This was my first, like, taste of, like, what death was, I guess you could say. And it introduced me to, death, I guess, at a very young age. This is like 3, 4 years old. So then I remember, a couple days later that weekend, I don't know what day that was, but that weekend or whatever was the funeral. And I remember, my mom dressed me up and we're all getting ready to go somewhere. I don't know where. I just know we're going somewhere because we're getting ready. And then, we get in the car, drive over, and it's this church. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're at this building. I don't know it's a church. I'm just saying it's at a building. So then, um, at this church, once we get there, we all sit, do all the whole thing. There's a service and whatever. But before the service begins, I remember my mother picking me up, walking me up to the front of the church where my dad's body was in the casket. This was an open casket funeral. Like, I guess he had gotten shot in the chest, so it's like you can cover that up. So this was an open casket funeral. Mind you, this is my first ever dealing with death, seeing death for the first time. A casket, a dead body was my own father. So, and I didn't realize this until years later. Like, this is me as a 3, 4 year old child, barely out the womb, fresh out, So it's like, as a child, I didn't understand this. So she walks me up to the casket. I remember just this fear like came over me because like I didn't understand what it was and I didn't even recognize my dad. Like, when like dead people, they don't look like what they did when they were alive. They're dead, like all that skin that was holding together is now all like is not as good looking. You can tell something's off. They're not there. Okay. Yes, sorry, it cut out. So what I was saying is, yeah, they're not there anymore. So I remember looking over as she was carrying me up to the casket, looking over and like just fear just, went into my body at that exact moment. I did not like this is my first time dealing with any sort of death thing. So I turned my head away, buried it in her shoulder, and she saw I was uncomfortable and, left and brought me back to the seat. The service finished, and yeah, so we fast forward a couple months, and my mom and my siblings and us are just, living it out, after the passing of my father, and she takes it on herself and, helps keep us, sustained as much as she can, but she doesn't have a job. She's just a stay-at-home mom usually. At this point, like she didn't have a job. So um I remember it got to a point where she couldn't take care of all of us. So she started giving us to family members. Like I know my two brothers went to live with my uncle, and my sister eventually went to live with my aunt, and I think my mother just really wanted to keep me as long as she could. I don't know why. She just did not want to give me up. Like, so I stayed with her for a while. Um, and even before she gave us away, like, it was hard. Like, I remember we lost the house. We were living under the bridges. Like, just for a little bit, and then like shelters and stuff, um, until, she just could not, take care of us anymore. Or she wanted better for us, I should say. She wanted better than that. So she started giving us away to family members. She held on to me for like a couple months longer. Then she eventually gave me to a nursery. Now, this part of the story is like a couple months after my dad died, maybe even a year. So I might be actually 4 going on 5. Um, Maybe less than that. Maybe I might still be 3, 4, not just 4 yet. Okay, so correction. My dad died when I was actually 2. And then I got sent to the nursery when my mom couldn't take care of us at 3. Okay, there we go. So yeah, at like 3, 4-ish, I went to the nursery. I was there for like 2 years. And uh so I would, go to this nursery because my mom could not take care of us anymore. I was the last one. And then I remember like not wanting her to leave like at all. I was like just saying like, no, why? I don't want to be here. I don't want to stay here. And she's like, I gotta go. You gotta stay here because I can't take care of you anymore. And I'm like, why? You know. So that first week over there was hard for me. I do remember, throwing little tantrums and all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, the people there were amazing. Like we'll get there, but like, the first week was just crazy, and it was a roller coaster of emotions for me because there was so much happening at once, and I didn't know what to do. So once my mom left, she left me there, and then the nurses and everything got me settled in. I remember like stomping my feet on the wall, like crying, like to sleep, like just crying and crying that first week. After that, after I accepted my fate, I was like, all right, got acquainted. There was a little kid there that was my roommate. I forget his name. We'll call him Max for the sake of the story. So Max here, kind of became my first ever like real best friend, like ever. Like if I can ever imagine, like he was my first ever like real BFF. So we shared a room together, and we got into so much trouble. Like at an early age, I was mischievous, and yeah, it was just fun times with him. I know me and Max would do this thing where we would try to see how far we could like lift our legs up the wall, like crawl up the wall with our bare feet. And they would get so mad at us because we would be making all this noise, like stomping on the walls. So yeah, I remember doing that, and like basically all day, every day we would go to, a daycare. There was a daycare literally next door. It was 2 houses. One house was like the activity house where they did all the stuff, that you were going to do that day. And then the other house was like the house, like where you lived and, chilled and ate dinner and stuff. So we went over to the other house to do our activities and read and learn and, do all that. Uh, and I remember, reading Jack and the Beanstalk as a kid there. That was my first time, like, actually like reading, but I wasn't like reading. I was kind of like looking at the pictures and mumbling words together, you know? So yeah, that whole time there was amazing. But it's not over yet. Yeah. So as I got comfortable within like a couple months, we went on trips and stuff. There was this woman named Helga. there actually, and she was one of the nurses there. She was like my favorite nurse there. Helga, um, she literally became like my mom there. She was my first mom that wasn't my actual mom, like in this scenario. So why I say that is because she would sing me Silent Night every single night. That is still to this day my favorite song to sing on Christmas or at just any time, like, I get scared or nervous. I just hum that to myself in my head. Or I'll just remember, like, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright. Yeah, it's like, so she would sing me that every night to bed. And she would just, hold me in her arms and watch movies with me and read to me. And, she kind of took me as her own son because she knew, like, I was going through a difficult time. And I didn't know I was going through a difficult time, but she knew I was going through it and didn't know how to like reciprocate it, in a healthy way but it was healthy for me as a child. But as a grown adult today, I see as an unhealthy, childish way of acting. But yeah, so she was there. And then there was another nurse there called Nurse Penny. Um, she took care of me. Uh, as well. She was one of the nurses in the back that took care of all of our medicine because some of us have to take medicine. And to this day, I still take medicine for different varying reasons. I might share those in the future, but it's just, kind of personal. But yeah. Anyway, she would take care of us and give us our meds, but she kind of became like a second mom to me too. She, gave me like candy every time, like just to see me smile or like run around or whatever. And she was also, and people who know me know this story, was the one that created sugar water. Now, if you know, you know, you know, you know. Sugar water, basically, was what they would give me when I behaved here at this nursery. So they would put water in a bottle, like a baby bottle, because I'm like 2, 3 years old, 4 years old at this point, and I still drink out of the bottle. I don't know why, but I do. So then they would put pure cane sugar and stir it and mix it. And whenever I was good, I would be able to have 5 minutes with this bottle to drink. And then they would take it away, put it in the refrigerator for later. If I, ate all of my supper or whatever. It was kind of like a bribe because they knew like I would love sugar, and to this day I love sugar. Like it's my favorite. Like anybody that knows me, like I get snacks all the time. I love snacks. Like it's part of my life. But yeah, they were the one. She was the one that created it. Nurse Penny. Shout out to Nurse Penny. But yeah, so those two kind of became like my guides in the first years of my life to kind of grow me into who I would become today. Like their kindness, their gentleness, their love, like their sternness at times. Like if I was misbehaving, if I was misbehaving, they would hit me. They would smack me in the hand or something, hit my tush a little bit. And it's like they kind of guided me and molded me in those first beginning stages when I was going through something very, very, very traumatic. And it's like to this day, I don't know like how to thank them more. But fast forward a couple months even after that or during this, they had set up a schedule where my mom could come and visit me. So she also too knew I love sweets and snacks and candy and all that. So every time she would come once a month. And every time she would come, she would bring me a snack, just one. but it would be a snack. And I knew like every time mom comes, me and her get to share this snack that she brought. And I know one time it was like those little donut holes, the white powdered donut holes in a little bag, and we shared a couple and talked, and caught up. She still stayed in my life, like still, even after she gave me up, she stayed in my life as much as she could, and made sure that I was good and taken care of. Like she really did not want to give me up at all, but she had to, and I understand why. Now looking back, I understand why, and it was a good move. Like I've been blessed because of that move. You know And some people can get mad and say, why mom did you give me up? But sometimes God just has a different plan, and it's like, why? If it comes out good, because God is always good, why even like question it? But anyway, we'll get back to that. So she would come, and one time she brought Cheeto Puffs, and we shared a bag of Cheeto Puffs. And then another time it was like a Snickers bar and a Reese's bar because I had asked for that. And it was a couple things. One time it was Burger King and McDonald's. Burger King at that time was like my all time favorite. Like all time favorite. Like you could not get me to stop eating Burger King. But nowadays, Burger King, you missing? Nah. But anyway, yeah. So she would come meet with me, and we would always talk, catch up and all that. And then about a year and a half in, uh, I get the news from one of the staff that sits me down in my room and says, "Hey, buddy," and I'm pretty sure it was Helga. And she was like, "Hey, buddy, I have some news to tell you." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Your mommy got very sick and she is not here anymore." And I'm like, "What?" "She won't be coming to see you anymore," she said to me. And I remember thinking, again, this thing that just happened to me a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years almost now. Again, like at this point, I didn't know. Like, I think I suppressed it because I don't even remember the funeral. I don't remember nothing. Like, after that news, like, I don't remember anything. So I think that's like when I just shut down, like shut down. And yeah, it was just a very, very, very dark, hard time for me. And I think that's when I shut down the most because I think I had fun, yes. Like there were moments of joy and moments of like I'm not thinking about it. But like sometimes it was like hard because like I would have adoption people, like they would say, hey, or foster people who would come and like be like, hey, you want to come live with us? Maybe you'll get adopted. A foster home is the next step after the nursery, so that you can get placed in your forever, forever home. Um, so I was in the nursery. The next step was foster care, but we'll get to that. And so I had moments of joy there, and all that. And then a couple months later, 2 years like later to that day, um, it was like I was like 4, I would want to say at this time, and a solid 4, like a solid 4. Um, but I had a couple come in and try to look at me and see if they wanted to have me at the foster house. And I've been through this a million times, so I was like, all right. And as soon as they came in, like there was something about them that I knew that I was like, I want to go with them. I want to go with them. So as soon as, I hung out with them, they took me out to lunch. They, got to know me a little bit. And as soon as we got back, I remember like they tell me to this day this story of me running to my room to pack my clothes to move out that day. And I remember her, and their names are Jeff and Jeff and Lynn Yablon. Sorry for my brother in the background being so loud. Anyways, Jeff and Lynn Yablon. And so they said, she said, actually, Lynn said, you can't come right now. You have to wait a couple months until we do the paperwork. And they were like, but we'll be back, we'll be back. And I'm like, okay. And those couple months, it was like 2, maybe, but those couple months were like treacherous. I did not want to be at the nursery anymore after having a taste of what life could be at. They showed me their house too in Boca, like that's where we lived, Boca. But anyway, they I live in Florida, by the way. Sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm kind of doing this from memory. I wrote a little bit down, but like I'm kind of just doing it from memory. Um so yeah, I live in Florida and they lived in Boca at the time. So I got to see their house in Boca, and it was a very nice house. Very nice house. They're foster care, and if you know about the foster system, most of them I hear are not that great. But the ones that are, and I found that one. Well, God gave me that one, and sent me to that one. Uh, but yeah, this one was nice. Anyways, yeah, back to the story. They come back with the paperwork signed and everything, and I move out. I remember saying goodbye to Max, and saying, crying actually, because at this point I had been there 2 years. I kind of was comfortable with my life. I had gotten used to it, and now this is another big change. Like, yes, I'm excited, but I'm also like, these are my friends and family now. Like, whoever I live with becomes like and you'll see a pattern in that as we go through my story. Like, whoever I'm connected to in that way or live with or whatever becomes my family. Like, you will always be my family. So, anyway, I lived and moved to Boca, and I remember like as soon as I got to their house, I remember seeing the outside, mind you. Like, I didn't go in. They just drove past it and said, this is where you're going to live one day. And I'm like, okay, it was a very nice house from the outside. I hadn't been inside. So I remember walking up with my bags, and they're getting my bags, and I got a little bag. Walking up, and they open the door. This big black lab comes walking out. I get so scared. I run. I drop everything. I literally drop everything and run straight to the couch and jump on the couch. I remember her chasing me. Her name is Casey, by the way, the dog. I remember her chasing me to the couch, and they were like, "That you're good, you're good. It's just Casey. She's harmless. She's not gonna hurt you." And I'm like super scared at this point. But yeah, I literally was like, all right, well, this is it. It took me a day or two to get used to the dog. Like, they had to lock her up for like a good day or two until I could get used to like her being around, because at this point I had never seen an animal like that, a dog like that. Like, I had been poor. Maybe I seen a dog, but as that young, I don't remember. Like, all I remember is sitting on stairs eating noodles, and this other stuff. Like, but I don't remember a dog. So when I first got there, I ran straight to the couch. And then there, they already had like kids there, foster kids there. One girl's name was Bailey. The other girl's name was Lovely. Oh, and another one named James. And I remember that James and I shared a room, and Lovely and Bailey shared a room on the other side of the house. And we all lived there, and then Jeff and Lynn shared a room, of course. But fun fact, by the way, she is Christian and he is Jewish. So I got to celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas, double the presents. It was awesome. But anyway, we'll get to that. I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah. So me and Jimmy shared a room. That's what we call him, Jimmy. That's his little nickname, James. So me and James shared a room, and James has a disability, very autistic, very nonverbal, speaks sign language, but only bare minimum sign language that I know of. He might have learned more since I've left, but when I knew him, he only knew a couple things, but he understood for the most part what you mean. Like he understood like what you were saying to him. So don't count him out. That's my boy, you know. That's my homie day one, first bunkmate ever. Well, Max. And then Jimmy. But me and Jimmy got to live together a lot longer than me and Max. So me and Jimmy became best man for life, you know. So yeah, so me and Jimmy shared a room, and Jimmy, you know, he's just a open soul. Like when I tell you, like he will do anything for you, and like he will just see joy in everything that you do. Like if you laugh, he'll start laughing. If you cry, he'll start crying. If you like smile, he'll smile. Like if you just look at him, he'll just be like and just like he's just an open soul, you know. It's like he's so sweet, and like to this day when I go to visit them, because I still visit them to this day, I still have the connection with them. I'm still trying to plan a day soon to go visit them. The last time was a couple years ago, I think, before or even in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been a while, but yeah, me and them just were going. They had a pool, and we were on a canal in Boca. So on the canal, they also had a boat, a pool, a playground, and a boat. These people knew how to give kids a great life. Like, I've been so blessed. Like, if God didn't do any more than that, or what He's already done even more after that, like, I have no reason to complain. And, like, you know, the things I post are like my mental struggles. Like, they're not meant to be like, this is how I see the world all the time. No. This is just what I'm learning to deal with through God and His Word. And like, it helps me to be able to reflect that. I can go to archives and be like, on this day, what did I learn? Like, what did I post? What was my mind? Like, where was my mind? So that's why I post so much. And that's why I'm just, you know, very creative and outgoing person, but like I'm also introvert as crap. Like I'd rather be at home alone, just playing games with the homies online than out at the club or, you know, even at a party, like with like 10 friends, 13 friends, 14. Like, no, like I'd rather have like maybe two and we play Uno, maybe three, five at most. But like, yeah, I'm an outgoing person in the sense of personality, but not outgoing in the sense of like activities, you know. I like to do things like with people, but like I also don't like to do things with people. Anyway, back to the story. So yeah, they had a boat on the canal and a pool and stuff, and me and Jimmy would get in the pool all the time. Like I remember that was my favorite thing to do with Jimmy. And yeah, so then I remember him just every time I would jump in and splash like this, Jimmy would just be like going haywire with the laugh. He would find it so amusing when you splash water, bro. And like when you made a grunt noise, whoo, whoo, he would go crazy, bro. That's the only thing like you needed to do to give Jimmy a little laugh. Like he's just simple, man. He's just a sweet man. Like, and I don't, see anybody as disabled. We're just different. So yeah. Anyway, what else in this story? So as I lived there, things got a little bit more hectic. Like they became the parents of my like life. Like they were my parents. They were my guardians. They took me to every doctor's appointment, and trust me, I went to a lot of doctor's appointments. Surgeries. I get blood drawn every 3 months still to this day. So yeah, it's just a fact of my life. Anyway, they would, house me, spank me when I was bad, take me to school, and pick me up from school, take me off the bus, put me on the bus, all that. Like they became my parents and guardians. And Lovely and Bailey and them were there too. I don't really remember early stages with Bailey and Lovely. I remember early on Bailey did get adopted. So she left and it was just me, Lovely, and Jimmy. Um, so we were all three there. And then this is kind of where like my story kind of gets a little rated R and graphic. Because I'm telling you, this is the raw. So, like I was saying, this is the raw and unfiltered version of my story. So I'm telling you everything. And so